How you girls doing? You excited to work on the garage today? Oh, you're gonna be in this, John. You're not just gonna be the random guy walking around. All right, guys, we're back at it again with another video. The balls are feeling much better, healed up. I can start working back on the garage, and I've enlisted the help of
John.
Mr. John here. And where are you from originally?
I left the DC area and we live full-time in our own on-the-wheels tiny house. It's actually a 40-foot RV diesel pusher that we bought, and we've been traveling for 2 years straight.
Awesome. And he wanted to come out and help on the garage while he was in the Benson area. And you also worked as a nuclear engineer on a submarine for the Navy. So how long did you do that?
30 years in the Navy,
awesome.
10 years as a civilian working for the Navy. So I put 40 years in supporting the Navy and nuclear ships, and it's a pretty neat job.
That is.
But I like building stuff and I like working with my hands, so this is going to be great.
Awesome. Thank you for your service. And I think the only thing that we're going to do is just get started, and we're going to work on getting the lean on done today. So we've got all the vertical pieces lined up. We've got to screw these brackets in there, and then we'll get everything in place. We're going to have to get the lift over here, so I'll have to cut out a portion of the door frame there. So there's going to be a man door going there anyway, so I have to cut it out. We'll get the lift up here and then get everything done. So in the same way that we did the eave pieces on the major portion of the garage, we're doing it the same way on the lean on. Now you might be wondering, why do you need a lean on? Well, probably half of it is going to be converted into a greenhouse space. The other half is going to be material storage. Right now all my material sits outside in the sun, so then it gets wet, and it's just not a good situation for it because it deteriorates the material so much faster. So it's really nice working with guys who are very handy, and it can make the job go a lot faster when you just have a little bit of experience. And John was really smart with how he was doing everything, and it was really nice to be able to work with him and chat with him throughout the day. And he's a really cool guy. So we started cutting out the base rails of the garage with a angle grinder. It has a diamond tip blade, which I highly recommend over the abrasive blades that you can get for them. They last so much longer, and they're not that much more expensive. I think it was only about $15 for one of those diamond tip blades. And the abrasive ones, you go through them quite quickly, especially when you're cutting thick steel like this. And then with using an angle grinder, you don't have the same depth, so you can't go through that entire 2-inch piece of steel quite easily with it. So we had to cut out kind of like a access part in the base rail so that we could get the angle grinder to cut the bottom of the base rail. So you can see with cutting that little access hatch, we're able to get the angle grinder all the way down to the bottom. And using a Sawzall for this thick of steel is really, it's just a lot easier to use the angle grinder, let's say that. Plus I only have batteries, I don't have a corded Sawzall, so that makes it even more difficult because the batteries get drained so fast. Now while we're cutting the other side, the angle grinder started smoking and we completely burned out the motor. I've had that Black & Decker angle grinder for a couple of years now, so I'm not surprised that it completely shit the brick on me. So we'll have to upgrade to a Harbor Freight one, I think. So we just had to use whatever tools we had just to try to get this piece of base rail out. Once we knocked out that anchor, then we're able to actually just bend the steel up and down and then just take it right out. So the lean-on goes together pretty quickly. It's just these same slip fit connections with the Versatube garage, and we're just able to slip everything together nice and quick. John volunteered to do a lot of the work himself, and main reason for that is technically I'm supposed to wait a couple more days until, you know, I can quote unquote lift more than 40 pounds. And one of the things that we found that made things go together a lot smoother is using our adjustable wrench just to kind of bend in the end. So if you're ever putting together a Versatube garage, you'll definitely know what I mean. But sometimes the slit fit connections don't go together exactly as they should, and you just have to bend in the ends just a little bit and then they'll fit together perfectly. So you have to go back with the 4x4 and the sledge and sledge everything together just to tighten up the joints with the metal framing pieces. John had a great idea of basically making a little piece of formwork almost with some 2x4s, some 4x4s, and then some pieces of plywood, and then we just used a quick grips to hold it in place, and John dropped it. Of course he would. No, I'm just kidding. And then we're just sticking a few screws in each one of the joints here, and I'll go back and stick screws in all of the joints so that everything is nice and secure. But just making this tiny little piece of formwork, which only took a few minutes, made this a lot easier because we're able to sledge with two hands instead of holding the 4x4 with one hand and then only being able to sledge with one hand. A little bit of creativity goes a long way and can make the job a lot easier when you're doing things by yourself. I can't stand just standing around and watching other people work, so I gotta get into it myself. I don't think my doctor's gonna be watching this, but at this point I'm about 12 or 13 days from surgery, so everything should be good to go. Mr. John, we finished it. That was a really clever idea with this little guy right here to slam it in so that we didn't have to hold on to it and then slam it with our other hand. That's the nuclear engineer in you.
Exactly. Work smarter, not harder.
Totally. Awesome, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, definitely hit the subscribe button because we're documenting everything for this off-grid garage, the solar system, the rainwater harvesting system, and then we've got another big project, a big rammed earth house that's going to be happening just a few hundred feet down that way, and make sure you stay tuned for that. Thanks again, John, for your help today, and we'll catch you guys on the next video. Talk to you soon. Peace.